What's going on, guys? Ben Brewster here at Triathletics. Today I want to cover a very simple, easy to follow 3-drill progression if you're working on fixing a late arm action. So if your arm's a little bit down at landing, this is a progression that we've actually had a lot of success with. Now keep in mind, there are a lot of reasons for having a late arm action or having a late arm at landing. It's not always something that needs to be changed. However, in a lot of cases, if there are problems being presented, velocity loss, shoulder impingement, shoulder pain, it is something we will look to address. So check out the video in the description for a little bit more detail on kind of the background and what to look for with a late arm action. There are mobility considerations, there are postural considerations, but assuming those are all addressed and assuming you are at the phase where you're just trying to look for a few drills to actually work on patterning the arm to be on time at landing, then this is a very simple place to start, just 3 drills. The first one, and also something I forgot to mention, we're gonna do these with slightly overweight balls. So a 1-pound plyo, 7-ounce plyo, or in catch play, a 7-ounce baseball. These give your body a little bit more awareness, a little bit more proprioception, and feel for where your arm is in space. So if you take this to the opposite extreme, let's say you're throwing a wiffle ball or a tennis ball, it's such a light implement that your arm doesn't really know where it is in space. It's not getting a ton of feedback from the weight of the ball. So we use a slightly heavier ball, not 2-pound, not 4-pound, nothing that heavy in most cases, but a 1-pound or 7-ounce ball. I'm gonna show with a 7-ounce ball right here, just to give yourself some more feedback as you're relearning the timing and the sequencing of, hey, where should my arm be when my trunk is fully closed at landing? Where should my arm be? Because what you're gonna be used to is your arm being down at landing and learning to fire your trunk before the arm actually gets up. So we're trying to repattern the relationship between those two. The relationship between the arm spiral and the arm getting up, and the relationship between the torso and when the torso is used to firing. So the first thing that we're gonna do is the lasso drill. You guys have probably heard me talk about the lasso drill before, but essentially all it is we're gonna start in that landing position, shoulders closed, arm up, and at least give the athlete, the pitcher, the infielder, whoever we're working with, some context as to, hey, what does it even feel like? This is a totally foreign thing you probably haven't felt in 5, 10 years, at least several years. What does it feel like to accelerate with the trunk on time, the arm on time, and the arm up in a good position? So if this is a guy who's had shoulder pathology, a lot of times as soon as we get him in this position and we have him fire with his arm on time, it fully takes the pinch away, fully takes the pain away. And so that's a sign that we're on the right track and that this is something we should be continuing to work through. So as far as the lasso drill, we're literally just starting up in a high cock position, somewhere around 90 degrees of elbow flexion, somewhere around 90 degrees of shoulder abduction. Okay, it's okay if you're a little bit inside, a little bit outside 90 degrees, that's fine. But from here, we're really just getting a little bit of rhythm from the pelvis and allowing the torso rotation to unwind the arm. Now what you'll see, I'll do a couple more for you. What you'll see is 2 things. One, the trunk is what's actually initiating the arm coming through. So the arm isn't the thing leading the way, and it's not a tricep driven push. The arm is staying back, it's staying relaxed, and as the trunk fires, the arm is being pulled out and around into bar release. Now I'm a little bit of a lower slot guy. For somebody who's a higher slot guy, it's gonna look more like this. But the arm should be spiraled out and around, and that's why it's termed lasso drill. It's like throwing a lasso out and around. It's not a shot put, it's not a dart throw. It's allowing the arm to be nice and relaxed on time, and the torso unwinds the arm out through your arm slot in the plane of rotation. And then the other thing to realize is we've coached it before, this drill, where guys are completely frozen robotic from the lower half and it just looks like this. We've seen worse transfer from that drill just because there's not much rhythm. Everything is starting from the torso. And so we've actually found like getting a little bit of rhythm from the lower half, from the pelvis, and allowing that to unwind the torso and the torso to unwind the arm is a lot more of a natural feel. So you'll see when I do this, just adding a little bit of a counter movement, feels like I have to apply absolutely 0 effort from my upper half, 0 effort from my arm, and you're able to just feel that relationship again between the shoulders fully closed, the arm fully up. What does it feel like to initiate that rhythm and that tornado of energy from the pelvis through the trunk, and then ultimately the arm being the thing that comes along for the ride. So this is a really good one to hit 1 to 3 sets of 10 to 20 reps as kind of the very first thing in your drill work. and just kind of groove that pattern, groove that feeling. If this is more of a kind of rehab, return to throwing thing, then again, that higher rep type sets at very low intensities to start building volume can be helpful. So that's the first thing. It's not going to transfer immediately. If you just go from lasso throws to throwing off the mound, it's not going to transfer. So we need a way to backwards chain and begin to blend that pattern. But this is a good place to start. How we start to blend the full arm path is with a drill we call the 10 toes throw. It's really just a upper half drill where we're slowing things down. So if we just go and we try to start ripping balls, doing pull downs, your arm is going to default to the timing it's always had, the timing between the arm and the torso. Remember, that's what we're working on. We want the torso closed, the arm up. It's going to default to what it's always known, which is the torso going before the arm has time to get up. So we need to slow things down. So what we found to work is 10 toes drill, really just all 10 toes are facing forward. We're taking the lower half out of it. We're taking a wide stance for this version of the drill. And essentially it's a slow motion throw where we're basically just 10% speed. The first time you do this, go super slow. You're totally rewiring the timing between the shoulders and between the arm. So you're gonna start facing your target, you're gonna close off, and you're gonna trace through your arm path until you feel your arm get up on time. And from there, it's just like the lasso throw. You can see it's the same exact positions from the upper half as the lasso throw. Just getting to that position, and from there, trunk initiates, arm just freely unwinds. So it looked like this. First throw might be 10% speed, closing off, tracing through my arm spiral, and throw. Closing off, tracing through my arm spiral, and throw. So again, whenever I coach someone through this, the first time they do it, they're so used to it that their first throw looks like that. Like their first throw, the arm is still late. They're going 70% speed. I have to say no 10% speed, and they throw 150%. I have to say no 10% speed. Literally just trace through the arm path, feel your shoulder close, arm up. And it's gonna feel weird for the first 5 or 10 throws, but then you're gonna start to feel what it's like to actually accelerate from here versus down here. So again, that first set, 10% speed, 20% speed, start to build up the speed. And this never has to be a high effort, high speed drill. But at some point, once you get to 50, 60%, it kind of transitions to a regular kind of upper half 10 toes throw, which looks a little bit more like that. And that's where you're just trying to capture that pattern, that timing, but in one continuous fluid motion from handbrake into bar release. But again, it's that buildup, especially day 1, 2, 3, 4, when you start doing this drill, that's so crucial because you're completely rewiring and repatterning the relationship between your trunk and between what your arm is doing. So that's the tension 10 toes throw and the regular 10 toes throw. Those are kind of 2 drills in one, but again, the building up of the speed is an important piece. Now we need to begin to blend that a little bit more. And so this is where the figure 8 rhythm rocker comes in. So now we're gonna make this a little bit more specific. We've added in the handbrake, we've added in closing off the torso. Now we need to actually get our stance to be closed off a little bit more similar to how we're throwing. There's still no leg lift, there's still no stride, but we're making it a little bit more specific. So from here, where are we trying to get to? Again, we're trying to ultimately get to hips open, shoulders closed, arm up, and that's our lasso position. We want to be able to pass through that position dynamically now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a figure 8 path with the throwing arm and with, again, a slight overweight ball to help really exaggerate and feel this loose pendulum action on the backswing here. Again, the heavier ball is actually going to drive you into a little bit deeper flip up position behind your body. A light ball, you're not going to feel that as well. So this gives really good feedback. So let me just show you a couple reps here. So a couple things to notice about this. One, it's not purely just an upper half drill. It's not just that. It's not that you couldn't get any benefit out of doing it purely upper half, but notice how I'm starting to actually incorporate a little bit of a load into the backside, and again, incorporate the pelvis to begin that action. So we're using that initial figure 8 to almost automate what the throwing arm is going to be doing. This motion right here is almost, because again, we're tracing the pre-movement, the pre-loaded movement of the actual arm swing. This almost takes care of the path the arm is going to take on its own. From tracing that proper path here, it takes care of the relaxed arm swing. So my focus on this is actually on loading to the backside and firing the pelvis down into landing and letting that generate the movement. And again, I'm passing through the same position, but how did I get there? I didn't just get there by doing this. I got there by loading into the backside, firing, and now I'm actually powerfully flowing through these positions. So again, one more time, the initial swing effortlessly takes me down through my arm path. So my focus is on loading the backside and firing the pelvis. And the arm just naturally sinks in and floats into that plane of rotation. So there's a lot of ways from these 3 drills to ultimately blend it into your actual delivery. You can begin to blend it into a regular rocker. You can begin to blend it into a leg lift rocker. You can add hands over the head to help feel the smooth and fluid arm path. A big key here is we're trying to keep that throwing arm as relaxed as possible, and we're trying to use the slightly heavier balls to add additional feedback. What you're going to see with arm timing is it tends to correspond well to how deep of scap retraction you can get. In other words, an arm that is on time is typically also an arm that is getting into deep, retracted, flipped up positions, and an arm that is late is again typically not going to have much of that deep flip up position as well. So it's not just about getting the arm on time in terms of the amount of external at landing, it's also, and really what we're searching for when we pattern this with our athletes, is getting into that deep flipped up position where it's on time, but it's also in that deep retracted position. So some cues to think about. One is kind of relax or float the arm. So on the lasso throw, I almost like to think about my arm is like floating on a cloud. So I'm not right here with the drill. I'm literally, there's a cloud right here, my arm is just floating on the cloud. Neutral wrist, I'm not really not aware of any tension in my wrist. Neutral wrist, elbow floating on the cloud. And again, it's just pelvis initiates the movement. So just loose, relaxed, arm floating on a cloud. And the other way you can think about it is arm along for the ride. You guys have all heard this before, but again, it's a really helpful cue for a lot of guys, assuming you've already addressed any mobility issues and assuming you've addressed any sort of underlying kind of injury related issues. So once you've gone through this drill progression, a couple sets of each, maybe you like the 1 pound ball, maybe you just like the 7-ounce ball. What I would encourage you to do is take these drills into your actual catch play for the day. I would start with an actual 7-ounce baseball. Again, we're getting more feedback from that slightly heavier ball. So I like starting catch play with these guys with the 10 toes drill, maybe a couple of the lasso throws, and then a couple of the figure 8 rockers as well. And start it with the 7-ounce. Make sure you're actually getting the arm up deep on time. It should feel really, really smooth, really, really good if you're doing it right, especially compared to what you're likely used to with being so late. Now pick up a 5-ounce ball and continue working back in catch play. So maybe your 7-ounce ball from 45 feet to 60 feet. Once you get to 60 feet, you pick up a 5-ounce ball and continue on back whatever you've got for the day, 150, 180, 200 feet, depending on what you're doing with your actual program. But this is a really good place to start. If you can master it in the lasso drill, move on to the 10 toes drill. If you can master it there, move on to the figure 8 rocker throw. If you've got it there, now it's just a matter of continuing to blend in that leg lift and that forward move and ultimately blend it to the mound. But hopefully you guys got some value out of this video. It's a really simple 3 drill progression. Give it a try, let me know what you think, and leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.